So, you're tackling your GCSE in citizenship. You are in exactly the right place. We're going to dive into one of the biggest topics on the spec, Theme D, all about power and influence. We'll be investigating who really holds the power, how they use it, and what on earth it all means for you. Let's get into it.
I mean, this is the big one, isn't it? Who really calls the shots? Is it the government that we vote for? Is it the media that shapes what we think? Or when it comes right down to it, do we, the citizens, hold the ultimate power? That's the mystery we're going to try and solve today. Here's our plan of attack. First, we'll get a handle on the system itself. Then we'll dig into the power you have as an individual, the huge influence of the media, and how the UK fits into the wider world. And to finish, we'll bring it all back to what this means for you. Right then, first things first. Before we can figure out who's influencing who, we need to understand the basic setup of power here in the UK. This is our foundation for everything else.
Okay, so the UK is what we call a representative democracy. The basic idea is pretty straightforward. We, the people, vote for representatives, like our MPs, to make big decisions for us. Now, the super important part is that our system has checks and balances to keep them accountable and to protect our rights. This is a world away from non-democratic systems, where power is in the hands of one person or a tiny group, citizens have basically no say, and those rights we often take for granted just aren't there. The difference is absolutely massive.
And hey, quick exam tip for you. Getting these definitions down, like being able to clearly explain representative democracy, is a guaranteed way to hit those Assessment Objective 1 marks. AO1 is all about showing you know your stuff, so make sure these key terms are locked in. So now that we get the system, let's look at the first major player in all this, you, the citizen. How can just one person actually have an impact? Well, it turns out there are a lot of ways. As a citizen, you've got this whole toolbox of ways to participate. Voting is the one everyone thinks of, but honestly, that's just the beginning. You can join groups that fight for what you believe in, you can campaign, you can even lobby. That's when you try to persuade politicians directly. Then you've got protesting on the streets, and of course, using the massive power of social media and digital tools to get your message out there. Each one is a different way to make sure you're heard. This is such a great way to think about it. One person making a noise can be pretty easy to ignore, right? But thousands of people all saying the same thing, that's a lot harder to dismiss. That's the whole idea behind things like pressure groups and trade unions. They take all those individual voices and turn them into one powerful, unified message. Okay, let's move on to our next big player, the media. If individual citizens have a voice, then you can think of the media as this giant, powerful megaphone that can blast a message out to millions of people in a heartbeat. You know, in a democracy, having a free press isn't just a nice little extra. It is absolutely vital. Its main job is to act as a watchdog for all of us. It tells us what's going on, it digs into things that seem wrong, it keeps a close eye on what the government is doing, and it holds powerful people to account. Without that, it would be so much easier for power to be abused. But, and this is a big but, all that power comes with massive responsibilities. The media has a right to investigate for sure, but it also has a duty to be accurate and to respect people's privacy. It's a really tricky balancing act, and it's why we have things like press regulators to step in when a news outlet gets it wrong. And this leads us to probably the most important question you can ask. Is the news you're seeing always completely neutral? The honest answer is not really. Every news source has its own point of view. They take part in what's called agenda setting. Basically, they decide what counts as big news and what doesn't. And they can have biases. Learning to spot this stuff is a super important skill. And guess what? That skill is pure gold for your exam. Whenever a question asks you to analyze a source, compare different viewpoints, or evaluate bias, you're hitting those top-level AO3 marks. It shows you can think critically, not just repeat facts. So far, we've pretty much been focused on power inside the UK. But no country exists in a bubble. So for this next part, let's zoom out and take a look at the UK's power and influence on the global stage. Of course, a massive piece of this puzzle is the UK's relationship with the European Union after Brexit. This is a perfect real-world example of how international decisions affect daily life. You can see how big changes have happened across migration, fishing, travel, and trade. And by the way, being able to apply your knowledge to specific examples like this, well, that is exactly what you need to do to nail those AO2 marks. Beyond Europe, the UK is plugged into this huge global network of really important organizations. Being a member of groups like the UN or NATO gives the UK a voice in major world events and a platform for influence. But it also means we have serious responsibilities and commitments on the world stage. So when conflicts happen around the world, the UK has a few different tools it can use. It can try diplomatic mediation to help find a peaceful solution. It can use sanctions, which are basically financial penalties designed to put pressure on a country. And in the most serious cases, it can use military force. And alongside all that, you've got the incredible humanitarian work of non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, who provide aid in crisis zones all over the world.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, from local campaigns all the way to global politics. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Why does any of it matter? Well, the most important part is understanding how this knowledge gives you power.
This is what citizenship studies is all about, really. It's about giving you the tools to become an active citizen. And that's about so much more than just putting a cross in a box every few years. It's about being informed, getting involved, and playing a responsible part in your community. And the absolute first step to doing that is understanding where power really lies.
All right, let's quickly recap our investigation. Number 1, power isn't in just one place. It's this constant dance between the government, us citizens, and the media. 2, you have loads of ways to make your influence felt. 3, the media is a crucial watchdog, but you've got to look at it with a critical eye. 4, the UK has influence all around the world. And finally, the big one, knowing all this is what turns you into an empowered, active citizen.
And that's where we'll leave it. We've looked at the systems, the main players, and all the different ways that power and influence shape our lives. So now there's only one question left, and it's one that only you can answer. Now that you know where the power is, what are you going to do with it?